Every year we make this big celebration out of January 1st. Fireworks resolutions, new clothes, new planners, new gym memberships. And then we tell ourselves, this is it. This year will be different. And somehow, magically, we believe that a single day, a date on a calendar, has the power to change our lives. But I want to tell you something. It doesn't. The date doesn't matter. The calendar has no magic. Life doesn't start over because the numbers on the page change. Life only changes when you change. The truth is, you don't need a new year. You need a new mindset. Think about it. How many of you have written down resolutions last year, promising yourselves, I'm going to exercise more, eat better, read more books, be more patient, save money, spend time wisely? Raise your hands if you actually did all of those things consistently. Look around. I see the same hands that were raised last year, and that's the point. The date didn't make you different. You were the same person with the same thoughts, the same habits, the same inner conversations. The only difference was the number on the calendar. That's why so many people step into a new year full of hope. But by February, life is almost exactly the same. The excitement fades, the habits fade, and they are back in the same cycle, wondering why they are stuck. And here's the reason: changing the calendar doesn't change your mind. Your mind is like a garden. If you keep planting the same seeds of doubt, fear, procrastination, and distraction, you will grow the same weeds every year. You can put a new fence, paint the walls, or add a sign that says, Happy 2026. But if you don't dig deep and pull out the roots, nothing really grows differently. What you need is a mindset shift. You need to change the way you see yourself, the way you see your challenges, the way you see your potential, because a new mindset can turn the same old year into an extraordinary one. Let me give you an example. Imagine a person who fails a test. One mindset says, I failed. I'm not smart. Maybe I'll never be good at this. That person carries failure as an identity, as a permanent label. Another mindset says, I failed. That's okay. I can learn. I can improve. Next time, I will do better. The circumstances are the same. The test, the marks, the people around them, but the inner conversation is completely different. One mindset shrinks, one mindset expands. And that difference, my friends, is everything. That is what separates a life of frustration from a life of growth. The challenge, of course, is that changing your mindset is not easy. It doesn't come in a motivational quote or a glittery Instagram post. It comes quietly in the everyday choices you make. It comes when you decide to replace a negative thought with a constructive one. When you decide to take action instead of waiting for motivation. When you choose growth over comfort. It comes when you start noticing your own patterns and saying, I have been thinking this way for too long. I choose differently today. That is what transforms years into progress. And here's another thing. Many people think they need big, dramatic changes to see results. They think they need to quit everything, start a new routine, or move to a new city. But the reality is, true transformation starts quietly in your mind. It starts with one thought, one realization, one decision that says, I can do this differently. Because your thoughts drive your words drive your actions, and your actions drive your life. Change the thought, and you've already changed the trajectory. Let me share a story. There was a young man I met a few years ago. He came to me frustrated, saying, I don't understand why nothing is working. I'm trying so hard. And I asked him, how are you thinking about your struggles? He said, I just keep thinking that life is against me, that people are luckier, that I am not good enough. I listened carefully and said, that is the problem. You're carrying a mindset of defeat. That's heavier than any challenge you face. We worked together on shifting his perspective, teaching him to see failure as feedback, to see obstacles as opportunities, and to see himself as capable of growth. Within months, his life didn't just change on the outside, it transformed on the inside. The work, the effort, the results all followed. So, when you step into 2026, don't ask yourself, what will I achieve this year? Ask yourself, who do I need to become to make this year remarkable? Change your mindset first, and the achievements will follow. Remember, the new year is a number. Your mindset is your life. If you don't fix your mindset, no calendar will save you. But if you do, even the same challenges, the same circumstances, the same old life can feel like a new beginning. So my friends, forget the resolutions, forget the noise of starting fresh. Focus on the quiet, powerful work inside your mind. Watch your thoughts, question your assumptions, shift your perspective. And in that simple, profound way, 2026 will not just be a new year, it will be a new you. Have you noticed how much time we spend thinking? Really thinking. Some of us think so much that we've practically earned a degree in overthinking. We can analyze every possible outcome, imagine every scenario, predict every reaction, and still end up doing nothing. Overthinking, my friends, is one of the quietest killers of progress. And here's the irony, we like to call it intelligence. We tell ourselves, I'm just being careful. I'm just weighing my options. I'm just thinking things through. But most of the time, it's not intelligence at all. It's fear wearing a smart mask. It's hesitation disguised as planning. It's your mind's way of avoiding action because action is scary. Let me explain. When we overthink, we often tell ourselves stories. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I make the wrong choice? What if I regret it? And so we run mental marathons, sprinting through every worst case scenario, exhausting ourselves in the comfort of thought without ever stepping into reality. Overthinking makes you feel busy, productive, sophisticated, but it's really a way to delay the uncomfortable truth that growth requires action, and action requires courage. Think about it. When a baby takes their first steps, do they calculate the probability of falling? No, they wobble and they stumble, they fall, they get up and they walk. Yet we, as adults, somehow think we need to calculate the entire journey before we even lift a foot. We've confused thinking with doing. We've mistaken preparation for progress. And that, my friends, is the trap. Overthinking is a thief. It steals your confidence, your time, your peace of mind, and most importantly, your future. I remember a story about a young man who wanted to start his own business. Brilliant mind, full of ideas, every possible plan meticulously drafted. But he spent years thinking about the risks, analyzing the market, worrying about failure. When I asked him, why haven't you started? He said, I'm waiting until everything is perfect. And I looked at him and smiled gently, because I had been there too. I said, perfection is a lie, it doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is now and action. Months later, when he finally took a small step, he realized how much time he had wasted in the comfort of his mind, imagining problems that weren't even real yet. The world doesn't reward thinking, it rewards doing. Overthinking also creates illusions of control. We like to believe that if we plan every detail, think every thought, and anticipate every obstacle, we can control the outcome. But life is not that obedient. Life will surprise you, challenge you, push you, and sometimes knock you flat on your back, regardless of how much you overthink. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is not how smart they are, but how willing they are to act despite uncertainty. Overthinkers wait for certainty that will never come. Courageous people take action with faith in their ability to adapt. And let's be honest, overthinking is exhausting. There's a heaviness in the mind that no gym session or meditation can lift. You lie awake at night, running scenes like a director with a blockbuster in your head, but the scenes never become reality. You replay conversations that haven't even happened yet. You rehearse mistakes that may never occur. You wear yourself out in a world that values action more than imagination. Your mind becomes a prison, and your fear becomes the warden. Here's the subtle secret about overthinking: it often masquerades as wisdom. People praise the careful planner, the cautious thinker. Oh, she thinks deeply. He analyzes every decision. But ask yourself, how many times has thinking alone created results? Not ideas, not plans, not what ifs, but real, tangible progress. Rarely, progress is born from action, mistakes, adjustments, and persistence. Overthinking is the illusion of doing while avoiding the discomfort of stepping into the unknown. So, how do you break free? It starts with awareness. Recognize when your mind is looping endlessly, imagining problems that may never exist. Pause and ask, is this thinking or is it fear? Then take one small action, even if it feels imperfect, even if it's scary. Action is the antidote to overthinking. Action teaches lessons that thinking never can. Action builds confidence. Action creates results. And yes, mistakes will happen, but mistakes are not failures. They are feedback, they are teachers. They are proof that you are moving forward. I want you to think about a seed. A seed doesn't analyze the soil, the weather, the sunlight, or the potential obstacles. It simply grows. It pushes through the darkness, faces resistance, and reaches toward the light. You too have a seed inside you. But overthinking is the soil that refuses to let the seed break through. It is fear wrapped in careful reasoning. The moment you choose to act, the moment you decide to try to speak, to step, the seed grows. And growth, my friends, always starts with action. So when 2026 challenges you and doubt creeps in, remember this: overthinking is not intelligence. It is fear in disguise. The world does not reward your thoughts alone. It rewards your courage to act despite uncertainty. The first step may be shaky. The first move may be imperfect. But it will always be better than standing still. Start small. Start today, and you will discover that action not only changes your circumstances, it changes your mind, and ultimately, it changes your life. We all love comfort. It's human. After a long day, we want to sink into our couch, scroll on our phones, binge watch a show, order takeout, and tell ourselves, I deserve this. And there is nothing wrong with comfort in moderation. Life can be hard and rest is necessary. But here's the challenge. When comfort becomes a constant companion, when it becomes a default mode, it quietly steals your potential. Comfort, my friends, is deceptively dangerous. It is like a soft, warm blanket that feels safe, but slowly, silently, holds you back from becoming who you are truly capable of being. Think about it. How often have you chosen comfort over growth? Maybe it's staying in a job you don't love because it pays the bills and doesn't demand much from you. Maybe it's avoiding a difficult conversation because it's easier to stay quiet than risk conflict. Maybe it's skipping the gym, the class, or the opportunity because tomorrow will be better. And then one day, you look back and realize that the only thing you've grown is your comfort zone, not your skills, not your confidence, not your life. Comfort is sneaky. It doesn't scream at you, it whispers. It lures you into a life that is easy but small, safe but stagnant. Let me tell you a story. There was a young woman I met who was extremely talented. She had ideas, ambition, and the ability to impact the world around her. But she stayed in a routine job, comfortable, predictable, with no challenge. She told me, I'm afraid to take the leap. What if I fail? I asked her. What are you afraid of more? Failure or staying the same forever? She paused. That's when she realized that comfort had cost her more than fear ever could. The years she spent avoiding discomfort were years she could never get back. The cost of comfort is invisible until you notice the opportunities that slipped past you while you were cozy. Comfort is seductive because it promises safety. It tells you, stay here, nothing will hurt you, don't risk. And our minds are wired to listen to safety. Our ancestors survived because they avoided unnecessary risk. But here's the difference. What was necessary risk for survival then is very different from the risk we need for growth now. Today, staying comfortable is often the real danger. It's the thing that quietly keeps your dreams small, your talents hidden, and your potential untapped. Think about it like a muscle. Muscles grow when they are stressed. When you lift weights, you feel strain, you feel discomfort, you feel resistance. That strain breaks the muscle fibers, and as they heal, they grow stronger. If you never lift, if you never challenge the muscle, it stays weak, small, untested. Your potential is exactly the same. Comfort is the avoidance of resistance. It keeps you safe in the short term, but prevents strength in the long term. Growth comes from discomfort, from pushing past fear, from facing challenges, from doing what you think you cannot. And here's the subtle truth: comfort doesn't just limit your achievements, it limits your identity. Who you are today is partly shaped by the choices you avoid. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you are quietly telling yourself, I am not ready, I am not capable, I am not enough. Over time, those small choices accumulate, and suddenly you realize that your potential feels distant, almost unreachable, because your life has been designed to avoid the very experiences that would expand it. I remember a story about a man who dreamed of starting his own company. He had the knowledge, the network, the vision, but he kept putting it off because he felt safe in his corporate job. I'll start when the time is right, he said. Years passed, and the comfort of a stable paycheck and predictable routine became a cage. When he finally took the leap, he realized that he had been capable all along. He only needed to step out of comfort. The delay had cost him nothing in ability, only in time, and time is precious. Comfort is deceptively expensive because it takes away the very resource you cannot buy back: your life. So, how do you escape it? It starts with awareness. Notice where you are choosing comfort instead of courage. Ask yourself, am I avoiding this because it's dangerous or because it's uncomfortable? Most of the time, discomfort is a signal of growth, not harm. Then take small steps toward the discomfort. Speak up, take the challenge, learn the new skill, have the difficult conversation, start the project you've been postponing. Growth doesn't require giant leaps. It requires a willingness to feel uncomfortable, even just a little, and act anyway. Here's the beauty of discomfort. Once you step into it, once you face it repeatedly, it stops being scary. Your confidence grows, your resilience strengthens, your potential expands. You begin to realize that comfort is temporary, but the growth you achieve lasts a lifetime. The first step is always uncomfortable. The first conversation, the first action, the first risk. It feels unnatural, awkward, even frightening. But the moment you take it, the world shifts. You start becoming the person you were always capable of being. So, as we step into 2026, remember this: comfort is costing you more than you think. It's costing your potential, your growth, your confidence, your life. Stop letting ease define your limits. Step into discomfort. Face the challenges. Take the risks. Grow through the unease. Because the life you want, the person you are meant to become, doesn't live in comfort. It lives just beyond the edge of fear, waiting for you to take the first step. How many times have you waited? How many times have you delayed taking a step because you didn't feel ready? I'll start tomorrow. I'll start when I know more. I'll start when I'm more confident, when I have more resources, when the stars align. We tell ourselves these stories because it feels safer to wait. It feels responsible. But the truth, my friends, is that waiting for readiness is often the very thing that stops us from moving forward. Waiting for perfect conditions is an illusion, and the longer we wait, the further away our dreams drift from us. Readiness rarely comes before action. It comes after. Let me share a story. There was a young woman who wanted to speak publicly. She had ideas she wanted to share, but every time a stage appeared, she hesitated. I'm not ready. I need more preparation. I need to practice more. Months passed. Opportunities came and went. She felt stuck. Then finally, she forced herself to take a small step. She gave a short talk to a small group, trembling, unsure, unpolished. And you know what happened? She discovered that confidence is not something you find before you act. Confidence grows because you act. The action itself teaches you what you need. It shows you where you need to improve. It shows you what is possible. Waiting for readiness would have kept her silent forever. The paradox is simple. Action creates readiness. We think we need preparation to start, but what we actually need is courage to start. And courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear, acknowledging it, and acting anyway. Readiness is a feeling. It's a feeling that is built slowly, brick by brick, through the experience of doing. You don't wake up one day fully ready for life's challenges. You grow ready as you engage. I want you to think about learning to ride a bicycle. No one wakes up one day and says, I feel completely ready to balance on two wheels at speed, dodging obstacles and traffic. No. You hop on, you wobble, you fall, you get back up, you adjust your grip, your weight, your speed. By the third or fourth try, suddenly you're riding without thinking about it. Readiness came after action. The very act of trying, failing, and trying again built the skill, the confidence, the readiness. And life works in the exact same way. You cannot wait to feel ready for relationships, for business, for leadership, for growth. You grow ready by stepping forward, imperfectly, courageously, and consistently. Many of us procrastinate because we equate waiting with wisdom. I'll wait until I know more. I'll wait until I'm certain. But certainty is a mirage. You will never know everything. You will never feel completely prepared. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of variables outside your control. If you wait for certainty, you are waiting forever. Action is the only teacher that can transform hesitation into knowledge. Every step you take, every choice you make, every risk you embrace brings clarity, insight, and readiness. Let me give you another example. I once met a young entrepreneur who wanted to launch his startup. He had plans, spreadsheets, ideas, everything perfect on paper, but he kept waiting for the right moment. I asked him, what if the right moment never comes? He laughed nervously and admitted, then I'll be stuck. He finally decided to launch, small but imperfect. And guess what? The challenges he faced taught him more than any book, any course, any theory ever could. The experience itself created readiness. By stepping into the uncertainty, he discovered his strengths, his weaknesses, and his true potential. Waiting for readiness would have cost him years. Acting built it instantly. And here's another truth: the longer you wait, the more fear grows. Waiting gives your mind too much time to imagine failure, to exaggerate obstacles, to create stories about why you cannot succeed. Action cuts through that fear like a sharp knife. Once you move, the imagined monsters shrink. You realize that most of the obstacles existed only in your head. Action does not just build readiness, it dismantles doubt. It teaches you that you are capable, resourceful, resilient. I want to remind you that perfection is a myth. You will never feel completely ready because life is never completely predictable. The people who achieve the most are not the ones who waited for perfect conditions. They are the ones who started with what they had, where they were, and adjusted along the way. They treated readiness as a companion to action, not a precondition for it. Every journey begins with a first step, no matter how small, no matter how unpolished. So as we step into 2026, ask yourself, what have I been waiting for? What opportunity, dream, or challenge have I been postponing because I don't feel ready? Understand this: readiness is not a prerequisite for action. Action is the prerequisite for readiness. Take the first step, make the first call, speak the first word, write the first page. Take that small action today and watch readiness grow behind you, following your courage, catching up with your initiative, strengthening with each movement forward. Remember, my friends, life favors the doers, the brave, the ones who start imperfectly and learn along the way. Stop waiting for readiness. Start today. Step forward. The readiness you seek is waiting on the other side of action. And the moment you move, life will begin teaching you what preparation alone never could. Have you ever noticed how we spend so much time dreaming about the future? We imagine the life we want, the house, the car, the career, the recognition, the relationships. We paint beautiful mental pictures of what we wish our lives would look like, and we repeat them in our heads like a mantra. Someday I will be successful. Someday I will be happy. Someday I will live my dreams. And yet, year after year, we are often disappointed. Why? Because dreams alone do not shape our future. They are like clouds, beautiful to look at, inspiring to imagine, but they don't create rain and they don't feed the fields. What shapes your future are your habits, the small, repeated actions you take every single day, often unnoticed, often uncelebrated, but more powerful than any grand vision. Let me explain. Habits are like invisible architects. They silently build your life, brick by brick, long before you notice the structure they are creating. You wake up, brush your teeth, check your phone, scroll social media, sip your coffee, go to work, repeat. Each of these small actions seems insignificant, but over time they accumulate. They become the walls, the foundation, the roof of your life. One habit repeated daily has more influence than a dream repeated in your mind every hour. Your thoughts about your dream are important. They give you direction, but without the consistent habits to support them, the dream remains a fantasy. I remember a story about a young man who wanted to be a writer. He told everyone, "I will write a novel someday. I have ideas, I have passion, I just need time." Years passed. He read books about writing, attended workshops, dreamed about publishing, but never wrote consistently. One day he realized that despite his dreams, nothing had changed. Then he made a simple commitment: 500 words every day, no excuses. Rain or shine, busy or tired, he wrote. Over time, those 500 words became 1,000 words, then chapters, then a manuscript. The habit of writing, repeated consistently, transformed his dream into reality. The lesson was simple: dreams inspire you, but habits deliver. Habits are powerful because they operate quietly, without fanfare. They don't need motivation, and they don't care about your mood. Your dream may feel exciting today and fade tomorrow, but a habit repeated daily becomes unstoppable. Think about brushing your teeth or tying your shoes. Did you feel motivated every single morning to do it? No. You did it automatically, habitually. Imagine if the actions that built your future, learning, exercising, saving, connecting, creating, were treated with the same automatic commitment as brushing your teeth. The results would be extraordinary. Here's another subtle truth: habits compound over time. One small habit done consistently grows into something much bigger than itself. Saving a little money every month doesn't feel like much today, but in a decade, it becomes a significant nest egg. Reading 5 pages every day may feel trivial, but by the end of the year, you've read several books. Exercising 20 minutes a day might seem minimal, but over months, your health transforms. Habits are not instant gratification. They are slow, steady investments in your future. And just like money, small deposits yield massive returns when compounded over time. The danger is that we often wait for motivation, inspiration, or the perfect moment to act on our dreams. But dreams without habits are empty castles in the sky. You may dream of being fit, but if your habit is to skip workouts and eat unhealthily, the dream will never manifest. You may dream of being financially secure, but if your habit is to spend recklessly, your dream will remain just that, a dream. You may dream of being a great parent, a great leader, a great friend, but if your daily habits, your words, your patience, your attentiveness don't reflect that dream, it stays out of reach. Habits are the bridge between your dreams and your reality. And here's the liberating part: habits are under your control. While dreams may feel distant, out of reach, or dependent on circumstances, habits are fully yours. You choose the small actions day after day. You decide how you spend your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings. You decide whether you scroll endlessly or study, whether you complain or solve, whether you exercise or remain stagnant. Each decision is a seed. Some seeds will grow into weeds, some into forests. Your habits determine which grows. Let me share one more story. I knew a man who dreamed of being a great speaker. He practiced little, waited for opportunities, worried about whether he had the right words or charisma. Then he decided to start small, 5 minutes every morning, talking to himself in front of the mirror. Then he spoke to a friend, then to a group, then to a larger audience. The habit of speaking, repeated daily, gradually transformed him. His dream of being a powerful communicator became real because he focused on the daily action, not just the fantasy. Habits were the vehicle and the dream was the destination. So as we move into 2026, remember this: your habits are more important than your dreams. If you dream without habits, your dreams remain illusions. If you build habits without worrying about motivation or perfection, your dreams will manifest naturally, almost effortlessly over time. Stop waiting for grand inspiration. Focus on the small, consistent actions you repeat daily. Start today. Read a page, write a line, walk a few steps, save a little, speak a kind word. Your future is being written, not in grand visions, but in the quiet, repeated choices you make each day. Dream big, yes, but act consistently. Let your habits carry your dreams across the bridge from imagination to reality, because in the end, it is the daily choices, the small repeated actions, the habits you cultivate that will shape the life you live, the person you become, and the legacy you leave behind. Your dreams are the compass, but your habits are the engine. Fuel the engine, and your dreams will arrive